They changed everything. They redefined what was possible. Massive physiques, out-of-this-world symmetry, and strength that felt almost superhuman. But what truly made them legends was it passion? Fame? Money? In this video, you're going on a journey through the names that didn't just own the stage. They built eras, broke the mold, and inspired millions. It doesn't matter if they won a Mr. Olympia title or none at all. What matters is the impact they left behind. We're talking about 15 bodybuilders who made history with every pose, every insane workout, and every sacrifice hidden behind a smile on stage. These were men who pushed their bodies to the edge and left something even bigger behind, a legacy. If you love this sport, get ready for chills. If you've ever thought about quitting, this might just fire you up again. And if you think you've seen it all, brace yourself. You're about to be blown away. Because this isn't just a list. It's a tribute to the soul of bodybuilding. And you're about to relive the greatest names the sport has ever seen. Ready? When it comes to legs and bodybuilding, one name pops up instantly: Tom Platz. Back in a time when most guys were all about upper body or just overall mass, he burst onto the scene like a meteor, turning leg training into an actual art form. His quads looked like they were hand-sculpted, with deep cuts and a density that defied logic. For many, he had the most impressive legs the sport has ever seen. And the craziest part? He built them at a time when training lower body with full focus wasn't even a thing yet. Tom never took home a Mr. Olympia title, but that didn't make him any less iconic. In 1981, he placed third in a highly controversial Mr. Olympia, the same year Arnold Schwarzenegger made his comeback. Fans still argue he should have won, or at least taken second, especially after his jaw-dropping performance. But more than trophies or rankings, it was what he did offstage that truly cemented his legacy. He showed up in movies, magazines, seminars, always radiating that unique, electric energy only he had. They called him the Golden Eagle for a reason. The man soared when he hit the stage. Tom wasn't just a bodybuilder. He was also an actor and a university professor. Yeah, you read that right. He actually taught at the University of Southern California, giving lectures on exercise science and sports nutrition. That shows his knowledge went way beyond lifting weights. He deeply studied the human body and training methods. His videos on squats, biomechanics, and mindset are still considered must-watch material for any serious lifter today. His workouts were the stuff of legends. People say he'd knock out 20 to 30 sets of deep squats, doing hundreds of reps every week. And we're not even talking about regular intensity. He trained like a man possessed. Tom believed that pain during training was the bridge to greatness. And he walked that bridge every time he hit the gym, inspiring generations of lifters, from amateurs to Olympia legends like Ronnie Coleman and Branch Warren. Anyone who's ever tried one of his workouts knows it's not just about the weight. It's about heart, mindset, and raw drive. So, would you dare to squat like Tom Platz? Another thing that set him apart was his unique posing style. While most guys stuck to traditional stances, Tom blended theatrical flair with physical artistry. His poses weren't just flexes, they told story. They were intense, emotional, and even poetic in a way. He turned the stage into a sacred space, where the body wasn't just a machine, it was expression. That influence helped evolve the way athletes present themselves, something that's still appreciated in today's competitions. So if you enjoy a well-executed pose, you've got Tom to thank for that too. Even decades after his prime, Tom Platz is still going strong and inspiring people. He's always out there, in interviews, at seminars, chatting with fans, still smiling, still sharing stories. And that's what makes him even more legendary. He never stopped living and breathing bodybuilding. He's one of those rare athletes who transcend the sport. No matter how much time passes, his name will always stand for grit, passion, and pushing the limit. And let's be real. Have you ever heard someone talk about deep squats without bringing up Tom Platz? If you've ever wondered what the human size limit looks like, just take a look at Big Ramy. The Egyptian powerhouse Mamdouh Elsbiye, better known as Big Ramy, is one of those rare guys where the word monster is said with admiration. We're talking over 290 pounds, 130 plus kg, on stage, and every inch of him screams mass. With his wide bone structure, gigantic muscles, and overwhelming presence, he became the face of the modern mass monster era. Remember the first time you saw him on stage? It was like a living tank carved out of raw muscle. Ramy didn't just pop out of nowhere. He started lifting in small gyms in Egypt while working as a fisherman. But his body began transforming so fast, it was almost hard to believe. His rise was meteoric. In 2013, he won the New York Pro in his pro debut, something almost unheard of. The entire bodybuilding world took notice. From that moment on, he was pegged as a future Mr. Olympia, and he delivered. After years of grinding and improving, he won the most coveted title in 2020 and again in 2021. A true modern colossus. His back-to-back Mr. Olympia wins marked the return of raw size to the top of the sport. For years, judges seemed to lean more towards smaller, aesthetic physiques. But when Ramy showed up with insane mass, freakish density, and shockingly good conditioning, everything changed. In 2020, he beat heavy hitters like Phil Heath, Brandon Curry, and Hadi Choopan. And he didn't just edge them out, he dominated. It wasn't just a physical win, it was symbolic. It signaled the freaks were back on the throne. So tell me, are you Team Mass Monster, or do you lean more toward the classic look? For a guy with that kind of size, Big Ramy has always been praised for his symmetry and proportions. His legs, especially the outer sweep of his quads, are pure art. His cannonball shoulders create a 3D look that's hard to top. And even with a massive torso, he's managed to keep his waist relatively tight, which is rare at that level of mass. That balance of density and structure made him one of the most complete physiques of this generation. Wouldn't you agree? Behind the scenes, people say Ramy's one of the most humble and hardworking athletes out there. Despite all the success, he stays locked in, focused on training, listening to his coaches, and always trying to improve. His work with Dennis James and Chad Nichols was key in sculpting the physique we've seen in recent years. And even though he's not big on media or interviews, he lets his physique do the talking. And when he steps on stage, it screams. His win also had a deep cultural impact. Big Ramy became a national hero in Egypt and across the Middle East. He was welcomed like a celebrity, honored officially, and celebrated by crowds and streets. For many young Arabs, he proved that you can rise to the top of the world, even from humble beginnings. His success helped bodybuilding explode in the Arab world and brought fresh diversity to the sport. And honestly, isn't that part of what makes a true legacy? Today, even after losing the title, Big Ramy is still respected as one of the biggest forces the sport has ever seen. He brought raw power back at a time when everyone was betting on sleek, refined aesthetics. His presence reminded the Olympia stage that sheer size still has a place and a powerful visual impact. Picture a man over 6 feet, 1 inch tall, with muscles that look like they were sculpted by some alien force and veins popping out like steel cables. That was Paul Dillett, one of the most jaw-dropping physiques of the 90s. When he stepped on stage, crowds gasped. Even surrounded by giants like Dorian Yates and Nasser El-Sonbadi, he managed to stand out. With massive arms, a broad chest, and a surprisingly tight waist, his physique looked almost unreal. Ever seen a photo of Paul Dillett? If not, brace yourself. It might make you question reality. He earned the nickname Freakenstein, and honestly, it fit like a glove. Not just because of how he looked, but because his muscles seemed stitched together in a way that defied nature. His genetics were just on another level. Giant veins, insane muscle separation, and such an outrageous amount of size that it looked like Photoshop, even in real life. No wonder he became a magazine sensation and a poster child for the freak era. And the wild part? He got into the sport relatively late, after a short career in pro football. Yet within just a few years, he was a total phenomenon. His peak years were between 1993 and 1998, when he competed in all the major events around the globe. In 1994, he placed fourth at the Arnold Classic and went on to earn an impressive sixth at Mr. Olympia, taking on the sport's elite. But maybe the most infamous and heartbreaking moment of his career happened at the 1994 Arnold Classic, when he had a terrifying muscle cramp or collapse on stage and froze in place for several seconds. The crowd was stunned. Some thought he was having a stroke. That moment still ranks as one of the most bizarre incidents in bodybuilding history. Even after that scare, Dillett kept competing and kept turning heads. The challenge was always bringing his massive frame into razor-sharp condition. At times, he struggled with definition, which held him back from cracking the very top at events like the Olympia. Still, he was always a visual standout. Just look at any lineup photo. Your eyes go straight to him. Whether he placed first or eighth, you remembered Paul Dillett. And that says a lot about the kind of impact he had. Offstage, Paul reinvented himself as an entrepreneur and founded the WBFF, the World Beauty Fitness and Fashion Federation. It's a unique blend of bodybuilding, fashion, and lifestyle. So no, he didn't just hang up the posing trunks and fade away. He built a whole new platform that gave athletes fresh ways to shine. He understood the sport was evolving beyond traditional stages, and he helped open new doors for future generations. Ever heard of the WBFF? Yeah, that was Frankenstein's brainchild. Looking back, there's no doubt Paul Dillett was one of the early pioneers of the mass monster era and took it to outrageous heights. He didn't need titles to be remembered. Just being in the building was enough to shake up everyone's standards for size and muscle density. Plenty of modern-day bodybuilders still point to him as a visual benchmark, a guy who showed just how far the human body can be pushed with genetics, grit, and a whole lot of boldness. Ever seen a physique quite like his? So let me ask you, would you rank Paul Dillett among the all-time freaks? Even without an Olympia title, does raw visual shock value matter more than a trophy? If there's one name that screams pure muscle overload, it's Marcus Rule. The guy from Germany was a walking wall with basketball-sized shoulders, arms like concrete pillars, and a torso so wide it barely fit on screen. Marcus wasn't your typical bodybuilder. He was a genetic anomaly, built through insane training and a no-joke diet. Just stepping on stage, he'd leave even the biggest pros in shock. Ever watched one of his posing routines? It's like watching the real-life Hulk. Funny enough, Marcus got a late start in the game. Before turning 20, he had zero ties to bodybuilding. After a football injury, he started training to rehab, and that's when he discovered his real calling. His transformation was so extreme and fast it looked like sci-fi. Within a few years, he was already competing as a pro. And while he never took home a Mr. Olympia title, he became one of the most iconic and beloved figures in bodybuilding history. A true cult legend. His biggest win came at the 2002 Night of Champions, and he had consistent showings at the Mr. Olympia, with his best finish being 5th place in 2004. But more than placings, it was his sheer visual shock factor and offstage charisma that defined his career. Marcus didn't take himself too seriously, and maybe that's exactly why fans loved him. On stage, he was a beast. Offstage, hilarious. That raw, unfiltered personality earned him loyal fans around the world. What truly blew people away was his muscle density. He wasn't just big. He was dense like pure granite. Many still say he had the biggest delts in bodybuilding history, with freaky volume and shape that looked almost fake. His workouts were brutal. Heavy weights, high reps, zero compromise. His motto? Lift as heavy as humanly possible, all the time. That mindset turned him into a gym legend, with training videos that still go viral today. Despite his freakish size, Marcus struggled to bring the kind of crisp conditioning judges look for at the Olympia. That cost him in terms of rankings, especially with aesthetics and symmetry being a major focus. But honestly, that just made him more popular. He became a symbol of rebellion against the perfect look and showed fans that there's beauty in muscle chaos. To many, he represented the raw core of bodybuilding: size, intensity, and unshakable passion. Even after retiring, Marcus stayed in the spotlight, showing up at expos, making videos, and even launching his own supplement line. He's always been that larger-than-life character with a smile and a story. And crazy as it sounds, he's still showing up in lists of the most extreme physiques ever. His body went beyond sport. It became part of bodybuilding pop culture. Very few guys manage that without a Sando on their shelf. But Marcus pulled it off in style. Before CGI, special effects, and digital muscles, there was Lou Ferrigno. And he was the real deal. Standing over 6 feet 5 inches tall and weighing close to 300 pounds, 135 kilograms, in competition, Lou was a true giant in every sense. In the 1970s, while most Mr. Olympia contenders had more streamlined builds, Lou showed up with a physique that looked like it was carved from stone. His sheer size made him stand out immediately, and it didn't take long for him to become an international sensation. After all, how often does a bodybuilder literally become the Incredible Hulk on TV? Ever watch the show? Lou got into bodybuilding early on, pushing through challenges that could have ended his journey before it even started. He lost most of his hearing as a child, something that deeply affected his personal and social life. But training became his way to rise above it all. With insane dedication, he built a physique that seemed almost unreal. He stepped onto big stages as a pro at just 21, and by 22, he took second place at the 1974 Mr. Olympia, right behind Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, second place at 22. Wild, right? His rivalry with Arnold was immortalized in the 1977 documentary Pumping Iron. The film gave viewers a behind-the-scenes look at Olympia prep and turned Lou into a global star. You see this focused, towering young man, quiet but determined, going head-to-head with the reigning champ. He didn't win, but he walked away with something even more powerful: worldwide recognition. Many credit Pumping Iron as the turning point when bodybuilding began to break into the mainstream. Haven't watched it yet? Add it to your list. It's a classic. After that spotlight moment, Lou stepped away from competition and jumped headfirst into acting. He landed the lead in the Incredible Hulk TV series, which ran from 1977 to 1982. He didn't speak a word on the show, just growled and smashed things, but his physique said everything. He became a pop culture icon, and to this day, that version of the Hulk is still legendary. Through the role, millions were introduced to bodybuilding without even realizing it, and that alone is a cultural legacy. How many athletes do you know who became immortal characters? Even after Hollywood, Lou didn't walk away from the sport. He made a surprising comeback at Mr. Olympia in 1992 and 1993, well into his 40s. And while he didn't take the title, people were stunned by the shape he still brought to the stage. In an era ruled by mass monsters like Dorian Yates and Nasser El-Sonbadi, Lou still turned heads with his size and structure. That kind of longevity in bodybuilding, it speaks volumes about his love for the game. Where others would have stopped, Lou kept showing up, proving that bodybuilding isn't just about youth, it's about lifelong passion. Beyond the stage, Lou has been a champion for physical and mental health. He's worked with young people, supported hearing loss awareness, and never hid the struggles he faced. He's living proof that limitations can be crushed with focus, discipline, and faith. On stage, on screen, and in life, Lou Ferrigno is a true symbol of strength. And not just the kind you measure in pounds. Know someone who looks up to him? I bet you do. There are big bodybuilders, there are champions, and then there's Kai Greene. One of the most striking physiques of the 21st century, Kai combined raw, brutal size with a truly artistic soul. His muscles looked like they were sculpted out of rage, but his posing flowed with grace. In an era dominated by freaky mass and hard lines, he emerged as a kind of poet in the body of a beast. He never won a Mr. Olympia, but honestly, he didn't need to. He built something even bigger, a global fan base and a legacy that goes way beyond trophies. Ever seen one of his choreographed routines? Straight up goosebumps. Kai Greene came from humble beginnings, growing up in foster care and facing adversity from the start. He found escape through art and weight training, slowly building not just his body, but a unique emotional and visual identity. As he grew, he started standing out on stage for his insane muscular development, especially his glutes and back, which were just next level. But what really set him apart was the way he lived the stage, like it was a theater of expression, not just a competition. His competitive peak came between 2012 and 2014, when he went head-to-head with Phil Heath for the Mr. Olympia crown. Those finals were intense, and many fans believe Kai was robbed, especially in 2014, when his conditioning and performance were near flawless. He finished second 3 times, but walked away a legend every single time. What do you think? Did Kai deserve at least one Olympia win? Or was his charisma already enough to seal his place in history? One of Kai's most defining traits is his ability to blend art with bodybuilding. His posing routines weren't just technical, they told stories, full of emotion, narrative, and meaning. He used his body to communicate, to move the audience, and people were absolutely captivated. Fans didn't just watch him for placings, they showed up for his performances. His movements drew from dance, theater, even philosophy. And that inspired a whole new generation of athletes to see the stage as more than just a place to flex, but a platform for self-expression. Outside of competition, Kai Greene became a pop culture figure. He starred in films like Generation Iron, appeared in TV shows, gave motivational talks, and even launched his own comic books using his image. He coined phrases like "thoughts become things," and promoted a life philosophy rooted in discipline, vision, and self-discovery. The guy didn't just build muscle, he built meaning. He turned bodybuilding into art and reflection. Even though he's been off the competitive stage since 2016, Kai Greene remains one of the most influential names in the sport. His absence hasn't weakened his presence. If anything, it's amplified it. He became a symbol of authenticity, originality, and depth. There are plenty of athletes with more trophies, but few have left a mark like he has. Kai isn't just remembered for his massive physique. He's remembered for what he represents, the blend of raw power and sensitive soul. And that? You can't teach that. You either have it or you don't. If there were a living Greek sculpture in bodybuilding, his name would be Flex Wheeler. In an era where sheer muscle mass was starting to dominate, Flex showed up with something even more captivating: proportion, symmetry, and flow. To this day, many still call him the most perfectly built bodybuilder of all time. And honestly, that's no exaggeration. With a tiny waist, wide lats, round arms, and razor-sharp lines, his physique looked like it had been sketched by a master artist. He never won a Mr. Olympia, but he's still one of the most revered names in the sport. Have you ever seen a photo of him in his prime? Unreal. Flex started competing in the late 80s and quickly caught the world attention with his unreal aesthetics. In 1993, he made his Mr. Olympia debut and took second place, only behind Dorian Yates. That performance had people convinced he was destined to rule the stage. Throughout his career, he racked up numerous wins, including 4 Arnold Classic titles, the second most prestigious trophy in the sport. But somehow, the Olympia crown always slipped just out of reach. Still, the respect, that never faded. What blew people away about Flex was the balance. He combined graceful lines with serious muscle density, a rare mix. His posing routines felt almost choreographed, gliding from one pose to the next with effortless fluidity. And what's crazy is that he made it all look so easy. But behind the scenes, it was all built on relentless training, laser focus, and some seriously elite genetics. To this day, bodybuilders try to recreate the Flex Wheeler look. Think anyone's come close? His rivalry with legends like Dorian Yates, Kevin Levrone, and Sean Ray helped define one of bodybuilding's golden eras. While others chased mass and brute strength, Flex became the face of aesthetic excellence. Many fans believe that if he had competed in a different decade, maybe the 80s or 2000s, he would have taken the Sando with ease. But tough competition, along with personal and health struggles, kept the title just out of reach. Still, his influence was permanent, because legends aren't just made by wins, they're made by impact. Offstage, Flex Wheeler became a symbol of perseverance. He went through serious challenges, including a kidney transplant in 2003 and, later, a partial leg amputation. Yet through it all, he stayed deeply connected to the sport, as a commentator, speaker, and inspiration to countless fans. His true strength wasn't just in his physique, it was in his emotional resilience and how he faced life's curveballs head-on. The respect for Flex goes way beyond the stage. Icons like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Ronnie Coleman, and even today's stars like Chris Bumstead have all called Flex a major influence. And it's easy to see why. He set a standard of excellence that still defines what many consider classic bodybuilding. When someone says a physique has that classic look, they're probably picturing Flex Wheeler. He didn't just compete. He elevated the entire sport with grace, precision, and muscle artistry. So let me ask you, should aesthetics count more than pure size? Because if there's ever been a case for beauty over brute force, it's Flex. When people think of bodybuilding, they often picture massive physiques and muscles exploding in every direction. But Frank Zane proved that true perfection can lie in the subtle details. With one of the most refined and symmetrical physiques in the history of the sport, he showed the world you didn't need to weigh over 240 pounds to reach the top. At just 185 pounds, 84 kilograms, on stage, he won the Mr. Olympia 3 years in a row, 1977, 1978, and 1979, beating competitors much larger than him. Frank Zane wasn't the biggest, but he may have been the most precisely built. Every muscle looked carved with surgical precision. He had a razor-thin waist, wide lats, sharply defined arms, and a flawless midsection. He looked less like a bodybuilder and more like a marble statue. While most guys were chasing size, Zane focused on symmetry, proportion, and next-level conditioning. And it paid off. His physique went on to inspire artists, sculptors, and future champions who began to realize that beauty could come from control and form, not just mass. Even before his Olympia victories, Zane was a regular on stage, battling legends like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Franco Columbia. He was known for his discipline and intelligence. With degrees in psychology and biochemistry, he approached training and nutrition with scientific precision. His methods weren't about brute force, they were about strategy. He was a thinking man's bodybuilder. Ever thought about training lighter, but smarter? Frank was doing that before it was cool. His reign marked a turning point in the sport. At a time when size was becoming the main benchmark, Zane proved that pure aesthetics could, and should, be rewarded. His wins opened the door for more balanced physiques to get noticed. But after Arnold's return and the rise of the mass monster era in the 80s, the sport shifted back to favoring size. Still, Zane's impact never faded. He planted the seeds of a vision that would later bloom in divisions like classic physique. Are you into that more refined style? Even after retiring from competition, Frank never walked away from sport. He wrote books, created training systems, and led seminars promoting smart, intentional physique development. Now in his 80s, he still maintains an active, healthy, and functional body. He became a symbol of intelligent bodybuilding, where mind and body move in sync. Unlike many bulk-focused icons, Zane remains a beacon for those training with purpose and long-term vision. He's the kind of inspiration that doesn't age. Athletes like Chris Bumstead, Terrence Ruffin, and others in the classic physique scene openly name Frank Zane as a key influence. His physique is still studied and used as a blueprint for muscle harmony and balance. And even fans of mass monsters admit, Zane had an aesthetic that very few, in any era, have been able to match. He was calm, calculated symmetry in a sport often defined by chaos and overload. So let me ask you, is Frank Zane the ultimate symbol of physical beauty in bodybuilding? Before the term mass monster was even a thing, there was a man who looked like he'd stepped right out of a comic book. His name was Sergio Oliva, and his nickname said it all, the Myth. When he walked on stage, the audience could barely believe what they were seeing. Ridiculously wide shoulders, a razor-thin waist, and arms that looked like they broke the laws of human anatomy. In the 1960s, no one had seen anything like him. Sergio wasn't just a bodybuilder. He was a visual phenomenon. Born in Cuba, Sergio's early life was marked by struggle. Fleeing the communist regime, he escaped to the United States in search of freedom and found a new home on the bodybuilding stage. In 1967, 1968, and 1969, he won the Mr. Olympia title, becoming a three-time champ and the first man to win the event more than twice. And get this, in 1968, he was the only competitor. No one else dared to show up. That's how dominant he was. Can you imagine an Olympia with just one guy on stage? Then came 1970, the year everything changed. That's when Arnold Schwarzenegger beat Sergio, kicking off his own legendary reign. But even Arnold admitted many times that Sergio was the only guy who truly intimidated him. Their clash became one of the most iconic rivalries in bodybuilding history. Sergio was pure power wrapped in graceful lines, a combo so rare it's still hard to match today. His physique looked like it was made with CGI, but it was 100% real. Sergio's body was decades ahead of its time. He had a huge bone structure, a tiny waist, defined quads, and a chest that practically exploded off his torso. His posing was commanding, and his signature twisted double biceps pose became legendary. Many believe that if he had access to modern tech, supplements, and training knowledge, he would have been unbeatable. He inspired generations and helped shape the kind of look that wouldn't become common until years later. Think he could have crushed it in the freak era? But his journey wasn't without setbacks. Sergio clashed with federations and spent time away from major competitions. Still, when he returned to the Olympia in 1984, at 43 years old, he proved the myth was still alive. Even standing next to rising legends like Lee Haney, his presence left a mark. Offstage, he worked as a police officer and lived a low-key life, but his reputation as one of the greatest never faded. Sergio Oliva's legacy spans generations. His son, Sergio Oliva Jr., followed in his footsteps and stepped into the pro bodybuilding world, carrying the weight of a legendary last name. But let's be real, the original myth is one of a kind. His name is forever etched into history as a symbol of power, resilience, and out-of-this-world aesthetics. Even today, when people talk about impossible physiques, his name always comes up, and for good reason. If you were looking for symmetry, muscle density, and total domination, Phil Heath was the name of the moment. Nicknamed the Gift thanks to his insane genetics, he took the concept of balanced physique to another level. With 7 consecutive Mr. Olympia titles between 2011 and 2017, tying Arnold Schwarzenegger, he cemented his place among the greatest of all time. His physique looked like it was built in a lab. Full, round, deeply separated, and capped off with a textbook perfect midsection. Remember the impact every time he stepped on stage? He didn't just arrive, he owned the moment. Before bodybuilding, Phil actually had a college basketball background. His entrance into the sport was almost accidental, but his potential showed instantly. Just 5 years into his pro career, he was already seen as a future Olympia champ. And when he finally took the title in 2011, he kicked off a reign of complete dominance. No one could touch him. Each year, he came back better, which is almost unheard of for someone already at the top. Think anyone from the new generation has that kind of consistency? What set Phil apart was the combo of insane muscle density and refined aesthetics. His arms and shoulders had that 3D cartoonish look, and every pose looked sculpted to perfection. But it wasn't just his body, it was the confidence. Phil walked on stage like he knew he was the best. Some even said he didn't have a visible weak point, and most judges seemed to agree. Even in 2016, when he had some abdominal issues, he still walked away with the title. That's how dominant his physique was. But not everyone was a fan. Phil was also one of the sport's most polarizing figures. Some admired his raw competitiveness, while others found him arrogant. His blunt, sometimes sarcastic style sparked heated debates, especially during the 2017 showdown with Big Ramy, one of the tightest Olympia finals in years. Though Phil won, many saw it as his closest call. The following year, in 2018, he lost the crown to Sean Roden, ending his streak. But still, no one forgot those years when he reigned supreme. Offstage, Phil was a true ambassador for bodybuilding. He appeared in documentaries like Generation Iron, launched his own supplement line, traveled the globe, and created motivational content. He also stood out as one of the most fan-engaged athletes on social media, constantly answering questions and sharing behind-the-scenes glimpses into his prep. His influence is obvious in today's competitors who chase that same sharp, round, 3D look he perfected. Even after his 2018 loss and an attempted comeback in 2020, Phil Heath has never stopped being a reference point. Many still call his physique the best of the modern era, especially when it comes to symmetry and detail. He was the perfect fusion of freak factor and classic beauty, of showman and cold-blooded competitor. And that puts him in a very exclusive group. Few have dominated for so long, and even fewer walk away as undeniable legends. Jay Cutler might be one of the most respected athletes in bodybuilding history, not just for his 4 Mr. Olympia titles, 2006, 2007, 2009, and 2010, but for the way he handled everything the sport threw at him, the wins, the losses, and everything in between. 4 years, he was Ronnie Coleman's top rival, going head-to-head with the ultimate mass monster year after year from 2001 to 2005. Always runner-up, always just one step behind, but he never gave up. And when he finally won, he proved that persistence builds champions. Be honest, would you have stuck it out that long? His first Olympia win came in 2006, ending Ronnie's historic 8-year reign. Jay came in with insane size, sharp conditioning, and a commanding stage presence. He repeated in 2007, but in 2008, he was dethroned by Dexter Jackson in a surprise upset. A lot of people thought that was it for him. But in 2009, Jay made history as the first Mr. Olympia ever to reclaim the title after losing it. The physique he brought that year was so dominant, it became a benchmark for the entire era. But Jay wasn't just about muscle. He was about strategy. Super focused, structured, and business-minded, he built his personal brand long before social media was what it is today. His training DVDs, expo appearances, and behind-the-scenes content helped modernize bodybuilding's reach. He was the approachable guy, always smiling for fans, always willing to give advice. That down-to-earth vibe made him relatable and helped bridge the gap between pro athletes and everyday gym-goers. Physique-wise, Jay was a straight-up tank. Massive shoulders, wide lats, enormous quads, and a thicker waistline, but still within the standards of the time. He wasn't the most aesthetic guy on stage, but he was balanced, dense, and consistently peeled. His training was heavy, high volume, and tailored to his massive frame. He wasn't trying to look pretty, he was trying to dominate. And a lot of times, that was more than enough. Off stage, Jay Cutler became a blueprint for longevity and business savvy. He launched supplement lines, guest starred on podcasts, collaborated with major brands, and remained one of the most influential former pros in the industry. Even in retirement, he stays close to the sport, supporting new athletes, attending every Olympia, and staying active in the community. He turned the name Jay Cutler into a lasting brand. And that's part of legendary status too, wouldn't you say? One of the most iconic moments of his career came in 2010 when he beat Phil Heath, the rising star who would soon take over the throne. It felt like a passing of the torch, but not before Jay made it crystal clear, I'm still the man. Even as the next generation emerged with tighter aesthetics and new styles, Jay showed he still had the fire and stage presence to win. That moment sealed his place among the all-time greats. When Dorian Yates stepped on the Mr. Olympia stage in 1992, bodybuilding was never the same again. The Englishman brought a level of muscle density no one had seen before. Every pose hit like a visual assault. Massive shoulders, back wings that looked like they could take flight, and a level of conditioning that was borderline terrifying. That year marked the beginning of the mass monster era, where sheer size became the name of the game. And he didn't stop there. He went on to win 6 straight Olympia titles from 1992 to 1997, dominating with a jaw-dropping combo of size, symmetry, and intensity. Dorian wasn't a showman. Unlike many athletes who thrived in the spotlight, he was cold, focused, and methodical. While others trained in sunny LA, Dorian stayed in Birmingham, England, grinding away like a monk of pain. And that grit showed in his physique, like he was forged in steel. His training became legendary, short, brutal sessions with crazy heavy weights, all based on HIIT, high-intensity training. His motto, less is more, if the less is absolutely insane. That philosophy flipped the sport on its head. While most guys were logging endless sets, Dorian was doing fewer reps, but pushing them to the absolute limit. His back alone is still considered by many to be the greatest in bodybuilding history. No one else combined that kind of mass with such sharp detail. The term muscle grain basically went mainstream because of him. His rear lat spread looked like a double-door wardrobe opening up. Ever try to figure out how he did it? People are still trying. During his reign, he crushed icons like Flex Wheeler, Sean Ray, Kevin Levrone, and Nasser El-Sanbadi, all phenomenal in their own right. But Dorian always came in denser, drier, more dialed in. His only real weak point was his front poses, especially the arms, which lacked the detail of the rest of his body. But it didn't matter. His overall dominance made any flaws seem irrelevant. He walked on stage like a concrete wall and walked off with the title. Think anyone today has that same level of command? Dorian's career ended in 1997 after he won his final Olympia while dealing with torn triceps and biceps. He was physically wrecked, but mentally unshakable. That one summed up his mindset perfectly. Broken body, unbreakable will. After retiring, he shifted gears into business, spirituality, and self-discovery. He launched supplement lines, gave motivational talks, and became a respected voice far beyond sport. Ever heard him speak nowadays? He's basically a muscle-bound Zen monk. But perhaps the most powerful thing Dorian left behind was a mentality shift. He showed the world that the stage is just the tip of the iceberg. What truly matters is what you do when no one's watching. His solitary workouts, his disciplined nutrition, his obsession with progress. They redefined how champions prepare, both physically and mentally. Dorian became the symbol of silent hard work. And to this day, when someone trains with savage intensity, you'll hear it. That's Dorian Yates' style. Before the freaks, before the era of mass at all costs, there was Lee Haney. With 8 consecutive Mr. Olympia titles from 1984 to 1991, he became the winningest champion in bodybuilding history, a record only matched years later by Ronnie Coleman. But what made Lee special wasn't just the number of wins. It was how he won. Haney was an aesthetic colossus, big, symmetrical, and refined. His presence, his speech, his physique, Everything about him radiated balance. Ever seen one of his posing routines? It's like watching royalty take the stage. Lee started competing at a young age and quickly caught everyone's attention with his wide shoulders, massive back, and tapered waist. His physique was the perfect fusion of size and proportion, a combination that wowed judges and crowds alike. In 1984, he won his first Olympia at just 24 years old, making him the youngest champ in the show's history. From that moment on, no one could touch his throne for nearly a decade. His dominance was quiet, no trash talk, no drama. He let his physique speak for itself. And man, did it speak loudly. His training philosophy also stood out. Unlike the brutal intensity-first methods that came later with guys like Dorian Yates, Haney preached smart training. He always emphasized balance between effort and recovery. His famous motto was, "Stimulate, don't annihilate." That mindset influenced generations of lifters who realized that longevity and injury prevention were just as important as pushing heavy weight. He didn't just build muscle, he built sustainability. Throughout his reign, Haney faced off against some heavy hitters. Rich Gaspari, Lee Labrada, Mike Christian, all incredible physiques in their own right. But none could match his full package: size, conditioning, symmetry, and stage charisma. He was the definition of a gentle giant. He didn't need controversy to stay relevant. His image was clean, his message was positive, and people respected that. For younger athletes, he wasn't just a champion, he was a role model. And that's even rarer than trophies. After retiring in 1991, still at the top of his game, Haney stayed connected to the sport and gave back to the community. He became a health advisor to the U.S. government, launched social projects, and remained a guiding light for the fitness world. A devout Christian, he always promoted bodybuilding as a path to both physical and moral growth. That deeper, more human dimension turned him into more than just a champion. It made him a leader. Even today, his name is synonymous with class. Legends like Ronnie Coleman and Phil Heath have openly said they were inspired by Haney's character both on and off the stage. In an age of inflated egos and social media feuds, Lee Haney stands as a reminder of a time when discipline, humility, and respect came before any title. He wasn't just admired by judges, he was admired by his rivals. And that says everything you need to know about who he was. Talking about bodybuilding without mentioning Arnold Schwarzenegger is like talking about soccer and forgetting the ball. With 7 Mr. Olympia titles, 1970 to 1975, 1980, Arnold wasn't just a champion, he was a cultural phenomenon. His legacy goes far beyond the stage, but that's where it all began, under the bright lights, in the roar of the crowd, hitting iconic poses that would shape the sport forever. Arnold didn't just win with his physique. He won with presence, charisma, and razor-sharp intellect. Do you remember the first time you heard his name? Born in Austria, Arnold started training as a teenager, dreaming, quite literally, of a bigger life. By age 20, he had already won Mr. Universe and moved to the U.S., where he quickly became bodybuilding's golden boy. In 1970, at just 23, he won his first Mr. Olympia, and that was only the beginning. His blend of size, definition, symmetry, and theatrical stage presence was something the world had never seen. He wasn't just bigger, he was bolder, more polished, and more confident than anyone around him. But Arnold didn't just shine on stage. The 1977 documentary Pumping Iron catapulted him to global fame. It gave the world a backstage pass to the Olympia and revealed the full force of Arnold's personality: competitive, cheeky, sharp, and charming. He wasn't just an athlete. He was a movie character in real time. That film helped break bodybuilding out of its niche and launched it into pop culture. On TV screens, magazine covers, and eventually Hollywood itself. His physique was insane even by today's standards. Broad shoulders, a full chest, trademark peaked biceps, tight waist, and a swagger that lit up the stage. Sure, There were guys with more density or sharper detail, but no one brought the full package like he did. His rivalries with Sergio Oliva and later Lou Ferrigno became the stuff of legend. And in 1980, after a 5-year retirement, he shocked the world by coming back and winning the Olympia one last time. A controversial win, but one that added even more to his mystique. After hanging up the trunks, Arnold became a full-blown movie star with hits like The Terminator, Conan the Barbarian, and Commando. Later, he took things to a whole new level by becoming governor of California, proof that his drive and vision went way beyond the gym. And even with all his success, he never left the sport behind. He launched the Arnold Classic, now one of the biggest bodybuilding events in the world. Ever been to one? It's a show like no other. Arnold is revered by athletes across generations. From Ronnie Coleman to Chris Bumstead, nearly everyone cites him as a foundational influence. He proved that bodybuilding could be a springboard to something much bigger. If you train like a champion, think like an entrepreneur, and speak like a leader. He embodied everything bodybuilding could be: strength, success, fame, and personal transformation. And no one has ever done it quite like Arnold. If there's ever been a moment in bodybuilding history when the impossible was achieved, that moment has a name: Ronnie Coleman. With 8 straight Mr. Olympia titles from 1998 to 2005, he tied Lee Haney's record, but did it in a way the world had never seen. Ronnie took human size to a mind-blowing extreme. At his peak, he stepped on stage weighing around 300 pounds, 135 kilograms, shredded with deep cuts, insane vascularity, and a level of detail that looked digitally rendered. Seen photos of him in 2003? It looks like CGI. You'd swear that body couldn't be real. What's wild is that Ronnie didn't start out as a favorite. In his early Olympia appearances, he barely cracked the top spots. People saw him as a strong, friendly guy, but not a serious contender. That all changed in 1998 when he showed up out of nowhere with a monstrous physique, shocking the sport and taking down giants like Flex Wheeler and Kevin Levrone. From that moment on, no one could touch him for nearly a decade. It was the start of a reign built on pure size, symmetry, definition, and unshakable charisma. But Ronnie didn't just win with muscle. He won hearts with his personality. His iconic workout catchphrases, "Yep, buddy," and "lightweight baby," became global gym slang. His training videos are legendary. 600-pound incline bench, 800-pound squats, 600-pound deadlifts during Olympia prep, all with a smile on his face and energy that fired people up around the world. Between 1999 and 2003, many fans argue Ronnie displayed the greatest physiques in bodybuilding history. He was a walking wall of muscle, yet still had a tight waist and mind-blowing detail. His back looked like layers of muscle stacked like armor, and his arms and legs were on another planet. In terms of density and fullness, no one's matched it. Ronnie was the peak of the mass monster era, the ultimate limit of what the human body can become. And somehow, he made it look effortless. Of course, that kind of extremity came with a price. After retiring in 2007, Ronnie faced serious spinal and mobility issues from years of moving massive weight. He's undergone over a dozen surgeries and now needs assistance to walk. But even through all that, he never lost his spark or his love for the sport. He still shows up at events, inspires athletes, and proudly says, "If I could go back, I'd do it all over again." That's champion energy. Even with all the setbacks, Ronnie Coleman is still revered as the GOAT by many. Athletes, judges, and fans agree. No one's matched his combo of size and quality. But it's not just about what he looked like. It's about his mindset. Ronnie trained like winning was his duty, like every rep was a battle cry. He showed the world that greatness doesn't come from genetics alone. It's carved out through savage, non-negotiable effort every single day. So here's the big question. Is Ronnie the greatest of all time? Or was he just the king of mass, surpassed in other areas? Hard to say. But one thing's for sure, Once you've seen Ronnie Coleman on stage, you're never the same. Drop your favorite Ronnie era in the comments. Let's settle this debate. After getting to know these 15 giants who shaped bodybuilding through size, discipline, art, and pure passion, it leaves us with one big question. What really defines greatness? Is it the number of titles? The cultural impact? The way they inspired millions to train harder, believe deeper, and push further? Maybe it's all of that combined. And maybe the most important part doesn't happen on stage, but in what they left behind, as examples, as legacies, as living motivation for everyone who loves this sport as much as we do. Each one of these legends proved that bodybuilding goes way beyond muscle. It's about resilience, identity, and story. Some won the Olympia 8 times, others never at all. But every single one left a mark that can't be erased. And now I want to hear from you. Who do you think was missing from this list? Which of these athletes inspires you the most? What era of bodybuilding is your favorite? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to read them and chat with you. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. It helps the channel a ton and keeps us bringing you content packed with research and heart. And if you're not subscribed yet, now's the time. Turn on the notifications too, because here we honor the history of bodybuilding's greatest. No fluff, no hype, just respect and real stories. Oh, and if you've made it this far, then it's clear you love bodybuilding just like we do. So don't miss the video in the card. It dives deep into another powerful story that'll keep you hooked to the very end. I promise it's worth every second. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Because bodybuilding might be about muscle, but true strength is found in the journey. See you soon, champ.